The wait is over.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the studios in the wrestling capital of the South, it's another terrific episode of The BENGEBUSTER Show. Please welcome your host, Tony Binge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great edition of The BENGEBUSTER Show, coming to you right here in the studios in the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. And actually outskirts of Charlotte, Lake Norman to be exact. But hey, who's counting? I'm excited about this week's show. As I told you last week, I'm going to be throwing out some hints. Everybody's wondering who Ric Flair's opponent's going to be. Fans, I think tonight I'm going to throw one out there for you. I'm going to give you some inside scoop on the Ric Flair final match. But before I can do that, I got to bring on my co-host. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Rock and Roll Chris Playboy Plano. Chris, what is going on?
Woo, Tony, another week is here. We are into the month of June. Summer is right around the corner. We're talking rock and roll, wrestling, and anything else under the sun tonight. I'm excited about tonight's podcast.
Man, I'm telling you, Chris, it's been a crazy week, but let's recap our weekends. I know yours was way more exciting than mine. You like got to go down to, as everyone knows, NASCAR was in town here in the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, for the Coca-Cola 600. And of course, during the Coca-Cola 600, they also have Speed Street, which incidentally used to be held downtown Charlotte, right there on Trade Street. But now, Chris, I think this year they moved it. Was it at the actual racetrack this year?
Correct. It was. They did move Speed Street, which traditionally, Tony, for many, many years and decades was at the corner of Trade and Tryon and Uptown Charlotte. Speed Street was moved to Charlotte Motor Speedway this year. And God, I have to give it up. What a great job Charlotte Motor Speedway did. Bruton Smith and his son Marcus, and boy, they really did it. It was really kind of somewhat experimental, but it worked. Building up Speed Street outside around the track, it makes perfect sense. And everyone is situated in one place. Bands and food trucks and music and autograph signings. It was a great Memorial Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and some heavy hitters came in music-wise as well. They were also trying to make up for the last couple of years with COVID-19 and really jumpstart the fans right into the Coca-Cola 600.
Oh, that's great. And I also know, we some pretty big acts was performing at Speed Street. We had Flo Rida, who else? Leonard Skinner, and who else?
And the Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller Band, yeah. So great. I mean, you can't beat that. And wasn't all that free?
Tony, it was. If you wanted to see Flo Rida, he was a part of Speed Street Friday night, and Tony, he did play Apple Bottom Jeans. We're not going to go any further. I did see it.
Oh, I'm sure.
So girls going a little crazy there, and it was great there. And he played all his hits. And Steve Miller Band took us back to the 70s and early 80s. He did a great job. And then Leonard Skinner was the pre-race concert into the Coca-Cola 600. You had to have a ticket to the 600, but man, Tony, they still got it, man. And I still smell some of that smell, a little Gimme 3 Steps and a little Freebird. And it was on Sunday. And boy, and what a salute to the troops in our military, both that are currently serving and then have served. And of course, are fallen as well and paying tribute to them. It's a great Memorial Day weekend. Charlotte Motor Speedway knows how to do it. It's a prelude prior to, the Indianapolis 500 is run earlier in the day, and they even have an F1 race internationally earlier. So it's really a whole day of racing and capped with the Coca-Cola 600 and nothing. I don't know much better places to be than the Charlotte Motor Speedway and just taking Lee Greenwood was there singing proud to be an American, and it was a great time, and it was a nice special place to be, and a great way to kick off the summer.
Oh, that's awesome. I hate I missed it. But I and my wife and my son, we went down to Myrtle Beach and hung out. Well, we actually went down Thursday last week and came back this past Monday. And Chris, it was a good time. We didn't do anything special other than there's a nice little campground down there that we rented a house at, or a cottage, whatever you want to call it. But man, Chris, we go there a lot, and I have to say, of all the houses that we've stayed at, this one has been the best one. Just for the golf cart itself. I mean, when you check into this campground, there's a lot of houses in there, but there's also an area where you can set up a camper or a tent or whatever you want to do to camp. But you can't drive your car in there. You have to either rent a golf cart, or hopefully the house that you are renting comes with one. Well, luckily the one that we rented, it came with a Cadillac, and I told you, I sent you a text and said, Chris.
Oh no, that was the Cadillac that was the Rolls Royce.
I'm telling you, that golf cart had a Kenwood stereo system in it. It had these monster truck tires, and that thing was fast. And man, I drove that thing all over, and man, I had a good time, and took my son for a ride. He was excited that we went on what he called the big road. We actually took the golf cart off premises and drove about a half a mile down the road and got ice cream. Just a good time, man. Just to hang out,
getting that wind in your face.
Get the wind, yeah. I've been on my wife telling her that I really need to buy me a Harley. I really want to get a Harley. But a couple weeks ago, a couple of our friends who had a slingshot. They were driving through town, and this idiot in a Mustang decided, he thought he could go 90 miles an hour on a 2-lane highway, and actually hit our friends head on and totaled their slingshot. So now my wife is really saying, I don't think it's a good idea if you get anything that doesn't have 4 wheels on it. So who knows? I mean, next year I may get me a Harley, or I may just get that Corvette, that red Corvette, Chris, that you and I have been talking about.
That's right.
One of the two.
And
but
they got the 3-wheelers out there too still. I mean, those are still not as bad.
Yeah, so you never know. But anyway, it was a good time, and I was excited to go off and recharge my batteries. I needed it after the last couple of months I've had with all the matches that I've had, and staying busy with wrestling, and so I had a couple weeks off, but I'm back at it in a couple of weeks, and so I'm excited about that. But we'll talk more about that later on. What I do want to talk about, Chris, the stadium tour is right around the corner. 2 weeks away from opening night there in Atlanta, Georgia. The stadium tour, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett. Man, it's going to be on fire, and you and I have tickets to the one in Charlotte, and so I'm looking forward to that. But on May the 26th, Def Leppard was in my old stomping grounds, Los Angeles, California, on the Sunset Strip at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go right there on Sunset Boulevard. And if you've never had a chance to go out to LA, I highly recommend going out there and checking out. Just go to LA, go to Hollywood, and get on Sunset Boulevard and just drive, man. And on that road, Chris, if you're an 80s rock and roll relic the way you and I are, a lot of the famous landmarks and places is right there, just a 3 or 4 mile drive down Sunset Boulevard. On that road, you're going to pass, of course, the Whiskey A Go Go. You're going to pass the Rainbow, but also, if you're a Motley Crue fan like Chris and I are, you're going to see something that's going to reach out and grab you. If you ever watch the Girls video, a lot of the strip clubs that were featured in that video are right there on Sunset Boulevard. And of course, at the end of the video, where Motley Crue are on their Harley Davidsons, and Tommy says, "Hey Vince, check that out, man." And you see a couple of chicks walking down the street. Well, that was recorded right there in front of the Body Shop, right there on Sunset Boulevard. And I know the every time I go to LA, I always take a picture of that, because it's just I mean, it hasn't changed. It looks the exact same way as it did in 1987. And of course, I'll tell you a little inside scoop that I was told while I was out there. Right across the street from the Body Shop. See, the Body Shop, they don't serve alcohol. You got to bring your own in. So during the time that Motley Crue were there filming Girls, 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 some of the band members and crew members would leave the strip club, walk across the street to this Mexican restaurant called the Pink Taco. I love the name, Pink Taco. And the Pink Taco is right across the road from the Body Shop. Who figures? But anyway, they would go over there and drink tequila and booze, and then come back over and film more of the of the video. So that's my California inside scoop to all my Binge Buster listeners. But like I was getting off on a ramble though. But Def Leppard played at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go this past week. And Chris, I'm telling you, and you know, not giving anybody free plugs here on my show, but if you tune in to or if you have the Sirius XM app, you can go on there now and listen to that concert. But Def Leppard put on a heck of a show, Chris. Have you had a chance to listen to it yet?
You know, Tony, I haven't had a chance to look at the whole show. I looked at a quick glimpse of it, but man, they've been getting positive rave reviews since they've done this. They did some national TV stuff as well, and it's like, wow, man. And people are raving about some of the new tunes, not just, you know, the classic hits that everyone is expecting to hear. They're getting into some of the new stuff they're playing. So I have a gut feeling, from at least Def Leppard's perspective, I can't speak for Motley Crue and for Poison and Joan Jett, but we might hear 2 or 3 new cuts from their new album off of the stadium tour coming up here in a couple of weeks and beyond.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. It's definitely going to be interesting to see exactly how the show pans out. But I do know that it is going to be one heck of a show with all 4 of these bands, you know, performing, and I am thoroughly excited about this upcoming tour. I've got my tickets, man. I am, and of course, you and I are going to hang out before the show. Maybe do a live podcast right there in Bank of America Stadium. Who knows? So if you want to find that out, you got to go like our Facebook page, because that's where that free podcast will be popping up at. But Chris, I mean, it's going to be an exciting time for sure.
I mean, I think the fans have waited long enough. This is 2-3 years in the making. I mean, I remember when Motley Crue said we're getting back together, and this is it, and this is the stadium tour, and now it's finally here. And I think, you know, it's going to be great to see Vince Neil play with the lead singer of the opening band. Joan Jett's going to get out there with the Blackhearts, and Poison's going to do their thing with Ricky Rocket and Bobby Dahl and CeCe DeVille and Bret Michaels, and then you got Def Leppard and Motley Crue. They're going to alternate as headliners every other city, and man, you're going to get 6-7 hours of rock and roll, and who knows? I don't know if another tour like this will ever be put together with 4 or 5 bands of this magnitude. And I know the guys are ready. I know I'm ready. I'm excited to see what the set list look like coming off of the Atlanta, show in a couple of weeks here. There might be some tweaks along the way, but they're going to work this out, and hey, I think they're just going to be all up there having fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. Speaking of fun, Chris, have you heard the news? Ric Flair is having his final match in Nashville, Tennessee, under the Jim Crockett Promotions banner I had hoped to get tickets to go see this match. Unfortunately, it's sold out already. But I have got some inside scoops. I have got some inside stuff that I'm gonna let everyone know tonight. And man, I before I got into that, I had to play that classic Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling Jim Crockett Promotions theme song. It's great. That brings back a lot of childhood memories. But this final match with Ric Flair, last week I told the fans that as the weeks get closer, I would give people secrets, and I'm going to give you a secret right now. It has been confirmed that for Ric Flair's final match, guess who the referee is going to be?
Boy, Tony, I mean, there's several that are worthy.
Yes.
You know, and I'm not going to sit here. You know, we can name names all night long. We can go down from when Flair started his career in the 70s up to, you know, as recently within the past decade. Several that are worthy. There's one that probably sticks out more than any other if you were a diehard NWA follower in the mid to late 80s. And I'm going to leave it at that. But,
yep.
You know, whoever gets the nod, I hope they have a backup ready, because you never know what can happen in this 6-man tag team match.
Yep.
You never know what can happen.
But
I have an idea where you might be leaning.
Well, I'm gonna let this cat out of the bag. The special, he ain't special. This guy is special. This guy should have his own wing in a Hall of Fame. And why he's not in the Hall of Fame it blows me away. But the best referee in the world in the history of wrestling. One thing I've always aspired to do, and I have not done yet, and I know it's never going to happen because he only does special matches, and really he doesn't really want to ref. He just wants to come and sign autographs and all that kind of thing. But the world's greatest referee, I'm talking about none other than Tommy Young, is going to be the referee for Ric Flair's final match. How exciting is that?
I mean, Tony, if you look at Tommy Young's resume, it speaks for itself. If you name all the major matches within the NWA over the years, the marquee matches, and even outside of Ric Flair's matches.
Yeah.
He's refereed all the marquee matches for Ric Flair, but I remember him in other matches that were legendary within the NWA as well, whether it was Dusty and Tully Blanchard, the Road Warriors, and Nikita Koloff. It goes on and on. So, but when it was the main event time, you knew when Flair walked the aisle who the referee was going to be in the ring.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Every time.
So, very fitting for him. But, Tony, I'm telling you now, whoever the promoter is, we know, they better have a backup ready. You never know.
Yep.
What could happen here? The dirtiest player in the game may have something up his sleeve at 73 years old.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris.
Because Tommy has gotten. I mean, if you look back at the history of Ric Flair's matches, whether it's in singles or especially singles or even tag team, Tommy Young has seen the mat several times or sometimes gone outside the ring as well. So we got to keep that into consideration.
Yep, that's right. And now this week, fans, I'm going to drop the first hint. Now, you really got to be a diehard wrestling fan to catch this. But as this Ric Flair final match gets closer, I'm going to give you a hint. Now, I know who his opponent is. I have already been told. I've got the inside scoop, but I'm not going to let it out of the bag yet because I want to draw some excitement here. So I'm going to tell you this: the very first time that this gentleman and Ric Flair stepped in the ring together, First time they ever got in the ring together. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you the town. I'm going to give you the date. The date was November the 29th, 1987. First time they fought each other in the ring. It was a tag match, but this was the first time that the two of these locked up together in the ring. But this guy and Ric Flair would go on and have tons of matches together, and they would have very significant matches together. We already know it's not Ricky Steamboat because Steamboat says, no, sir. So November 29th, 1987 is the first time Ric Flair and this gentleman locked up. And wow. This is the gentleman that is going to be stepping in the ring with Ric Flair on his final match. I cannot wait. I'm now going to have to watch it on pay-per-view and not be there live like I'd hoped for. But I'm still going to tune in because Chris, it's going to be something to see.
It is going to be something to see. We know it's a 6-man tag team match, and that is how it's going to play out. But it's much more than beyond that, Tony. It's the build-up of the event. It's the build-up leading to the event, the week of the event, the day of the event. What color trunks is Flair wearing? What's the color of the robe going to be? The hair going to look like? I mean, it's the whole thing. And
yeah,
obviously the music playing, the lights, the smoke, the pyro, whatever's happening, and the walk.
Yeah.
Of, when you think of Ric Flair, all the walks during the Great American Bashes and Starrcade and the opponents he took on. And those, I think that's what people are going to be thinking about. I mean, this match is not going to define Ric Flair's career.
No.
Win, lose, draw,
But I think the most significant part of this whole event is the fact that Ric Flair finally gets to put a stamp. I'm done. I'm finished. This is it. And he gets to do it under Jim Crockett Promotions, which is the promotion that really made him the star that he became. And I think it's so cool that they're bringing back. I heard that they're actually bringing back the old Mid-Atlantic stage. They're going to have that out there, and of course, Tony Schiavone and David Crockett are hooking up again. Those were the voices of my childhood. So I'm excited about that. Of course, the Rock and Roll Express is going to be there. And then as the weeks go on, I'll start releasing more names. But there's my hint. Take that hint and see if you can see if you guys know who Flair's opponent's going to be. I think some people will be shocked and others may not be, but it's definitely going to be an event of the ages. Now, moving on to our podcast this week. Another tremendous event, and incidentally, the event we're talking about today is the Great American Bash 1990, and this will be the final Great American Bash ran and promoted under the NWA banner. And so right now, fans, we are going to get into that. Here's the background on the Great American Bash 1990 New Revolution. The Great American Bash was a professional wrestling event established in 1985. It was first produced by the National Wrestling Alliance under Jim Crockett Promotions and aired on closed-circuit television before becoming a pay-per-view in 1988. The event featured wrestlers from pre-existing scripted feuds and storylines. The Great American Bash 1990 took place on July 7th, 1990 at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, with an attendance of 14,000 people, and the main event featured the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair as he defended against the new uprising megastar Sting. This is the event, and this is the show, The Great American Bash, 1990, The New Revolution. All right, Chris, we are back. Man, I'm telling you, Chris, this show was the show that made, my opinion, well, Sting was actually made at that Clash of the Champions in Greensboro just a few years earlier, but because of injuries, an injury that Sting sustained, he didn't win the belt when he was supposed to, so it took a couple of years later. But here we are in 1990, Ric Flair and Sting main event, the Great American Bash, right there in Baltimore, Maryland, with 14,000 people on hand to see this great match. Our commentators for this event, Jim Ross and the voice of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Bob Caudle. Ring announcer, Gary Michael Capetta. Interviewer was Gordon Soley, and our referees were Nick Patrick, Randy Anderson, and Mike Atkins. This event gets started, Chris, with a singles match. David Sierra taking on Mr. X. Don't really know much about that one, but this next one was a really good match. And incidentally, the Mr. X match, that was a dark match that was not shown on the pay-per-view. But the match that was, Flying Brian Pillman, who was really starting to make a name for himself, taking on the Nature Boy, Buddy Landell. This match goes 9 minutes, 29 seconds with Brian Pillman going over. Chris, what are your thoughts about these two guys?
Well, yeah, two interesting styles here. And obviously, Buddy Landell also had the tagline of the Nature Boy. It was the opening match, and you got the Nature Boy and the real Nature Boy in the main event, way later on in the evening. I always kind of liked Brian Pillman. I mean, I was a Brian Pillman fan. Good opening match. I mean, Buddy Landell, a hell of a lot of experience, obviously, coming into this, many, many years in the business. It's just, to me, it's a clash of styles. It's not a match. I don't know what the build-up or storyline was to this match, but obviously Brian Pillman gets the fall just under 10 minutes and, a win over Buddy Landell. I mean, on a national pay-per-view, that's not going to hurt anyone.
Yeah. And I know during this time, Brian was really starting to make a name for himself. Buddy Landell had already made a name for himself and was trying to make a comeback, a career comeback, as a lot of you may not realize. But Buddy Landell was really a big star in Jim Crockett Promotions, NWA. Well, he was a star everywhere he went, but focusing on the NWA, Buddy Landell was tremendous in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and actually they had paired him up to have a series of matches with Ric Flair, but Buddy's demons got the best of him one night, and he told Dusty to take the national title and stick it. He wasn't coming to work that night. He was partying. And so he didn't. He lost his job, and so he was definitely making a comeback here. And I always enjoyed watching Buddy Landell. And one thing, Chris, that a lot of people may not know, but Buddy Landell was a huge Motley Crue fan. And if you search online, there is actually a picture of Buddy Landell backstage hanging with Nikki Sixx and Vanity. And I'm sure, with those three together, I don't think they were playing music, if you know what I mean. They were partying it down. They were having the time of their life. And Buddy was a tremendous guy, a tremendous hand, and he left us way too early. But this match was definitely a great match between the two. Then we go from there to another match that goes 6 minutes, 46 seconds. Mike Rotundo takes on the Iron Sheik, and Mike gets the win there. Chris, at this point, the Iron Sheik is pretty much done. Former WWF World Champion, WWF World Tag Team Champion. Here he was main eventing, or some of the first WrestleManias, and of course putting Hulk Hogan on the map. Here he is, second match on the pay-per-view. But I know, Chris, when you were running NDW, you definitely got to hang out with the Sheik a few times, and man, what a tremendous guy he was, or still is.
Great guy both in and out of the ring. Tony, you can't say anything bad about the Sheik. I mean, reliable. If he tells you he's going to be there, he's going to be there. Great stories. You know how it is. The Hollywood blonde Hulk Hogan, right?
Right, yeah.
Sheik's owed one more match, right? For how many years and decades now? The Sheik owed one more with that Hollywood blonde. And, but hey, Sheik was great. And, he's got the clubs he tosses around and challenges the fans, and from, Iran. And, it was great. And hey, probably a lot of people at this time in 1990 may not even realize that Sheik was even in the NWA.
Right, yeah.
And they might have caught somebody surprised that we're just buying the pay-per-view more than anything else. But, hey, on a pay-per-view against Mike Rotunda, and obviously, Mike Rotunda, the WWF guy as well. So not really an unfamiliar match for Sheik in any stretch of his imagination. So, probably fairly, a challenging match for him, but a great guy. And, and really he was the one, Hulk Hogan catapulted off of that Madison Square Garden win, and the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly. And right now I want to play a small clip. This is actually what the Iron Sheik thinks about Hulk Hogan.
Oh, piece of shit! You suck, Hulk Hogan.
He doesn't like Hulk Hogan. Let's
that Hollywood blonde, right?
Let's leave it right there. But man, I'll tell you, the Sheik is he was a tremendous athlete, and was actually in the Olympics. So, great athlete, and he was definitely a good hand in the ring. Now moving on to our next event, Doug Furnas taking on Dutch Mantell. Doug gets the win, 11 minutes, 18 seconds. Doug Furnas, world's strongest man, Chris. What's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I don't have much background on Doug Furnas personally, though was at that time the world's strongest man, and we've had many other strongest men along the way, I believe, between now and them. But he wins this match over Dutch Mantell, a seasoned veteran in the ring. No pushover by any means. I mean, 11 minutes, 18 seconds. I would say Dutch had his hands full this particular evening getting the ring, but also up against a crafty veteran.
Yeah, for sure. Then from here, now this was a match of the ages. Two former NWA World Champions going at it. Handsome Harley Race taking on Tommy Wildfire Rich. This match only went 6 minutes, 32 seconds. I wish this match would have went 11 minutes instead of the Doug Furnas and Dutch Mantell match. But Harley Race and Tommy Rich together, former NWA World Champions. Chris, it don't get much better than that.
Oh, my God. I mean, Tony, this could be a main event in any arena across the country. I mean, Harley Race, in the ring, 6-minute match, very unlike him.
Yeah, very easily.
Race is a strategist in the ring, and we're not talking no fast-paced matches with him when he steps through the squared circle.
Nope.
But boy, 6, kind of surprising. A little bit. It went only 6 minutes. I mean, Harley gets the win. At the end of the day, but two former champions, Tommy Rich, at one time, beat Harley Race, a good number of years prior to this particular match taking place. So Harley gets definitely some revenge this evening in 1990.
Yeah, very good match. Now moving on, this next match was really good. It goes 18 minutes 14 seconds. It's for the NWA United States Tag Team Championships. The Midnight Express, Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan with Jim Cornette taking on the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Steve Armstrong and Tracy Smothers. Bobby and Stan will hold on to their belts. But this match goes 18 minutes, 14 seconds. Chris, it seemed like every match that the Midnight Express had with the Southern Boys, they were always really good matches.
They're going to be fast-paced. You're going to see, a lot of tags in and out, Tony, from not just one side, both sides. Whether they're on the offense, the defense, whatever the situation is in the ring. And, any one of the four guys can get covered on a 3 count at any particular moment of the match. And what a treat for the fans. I mean, Midnight Express and what was to be, when I think of Tracy Smothers, I think of, Smoky Mountain Wrestling and things of that nature. So what a great match for the fans to see with 4 accomplished workers in the ring that can work both singles or tag on any given night.
Yeah. I mean, very easily. Then we go from there to, and I'm not sure if this was the debut, but I think it might have been. But Big Van Vader taking on Tom Zink. This match was a squash match, 2 minutes, 16 seconds, with Vader killing Tom Zink. Chris, Vader, I met Vader, super nice guy, but man, a monster in the ring.
I think it took Tom Zink longer to lace his shoes up, his wrestling boots up to get into the ring. But no, I believe this was the debut of Van Vader with the headgear and everything. And I think Tom Zink was at the wrong place at the wrong time. There was a freight train coming at him, and knowing Vader, he might have could have ended this match probably at the 1 minute mark if he wanted to. Not even go to 2:16
easily.
Obviously, big plans for Van Vader beyond this pay-per-view, and his run in the NWA and WCW speaks for itself.
Yeah. Next match, great tag team match, fast-paced, hard-hitting. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, taking on the fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Jam Garvin and Michael P.S. Hayes. 13 minutes, 45 seconds. Chris, Steiner brothers, Freebirds, always a great match.
Hey, when Michael P.S. Hayes is bobbing his head down the aisle, Tony, to the ring, I mean, the Freebirds are walking the aisle. We talked about Leonard Skinner a little while ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That's what they... they're coming down the ring to Freebird, and, it just brings kind of chills up your spine when you see the Freebirds walk into the ring, whether it's tag team, 6-man, whatever's going on, and the Steiners, obviously they're jacked up and, in the ring and ready to go. But, you got to love it. I know the Steiners win this match, but, again, the Freebirds, you would have to think here, Tony, that, the amount of heat that they would draw into this match as well, just them being here, it had to be immense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's pretty well. It's been said lots of times that the Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin, Buddy Roberts, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy, great wrestlers, but man, they knew how to party outside the ring, and I'm sure the Steiner brothers did the same thing. And this was definitely a great tag match. Although I would like to have saw this match earlier in the card, and save that spot for the tag title match, but it is what it is. Somebody else was booking this, not me.
Right.
Which takes us
what
to
do we know, right? What do we know?
Which takes us to our next match, which was even worse. We've got Elegante. Now, this right here was a crazy booking. But Elegante, Junkyard Dog, and Paul Orndorff taking on 3 of the 4 horsemen, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and Sid Vicious. When I read that, Chris, I'm thinking none of these belong together, okay? Sid Vicious never belonged in the Horsemen to begin with. Elegante, Junkyard Dog, and Paul Orndorff as a team, I'm not buying that either. But now I will give the fans at home a little background on Elegante if you're not sure who he is. But he was he was a Spanish guy, 7 foot tall. They actually brought him in to play basketball for the Atlanta Hawks, but he was too clumsy. He kept tripping and falling, so they said, well, we got to do something with this guy. So they made him a pro wrestler, and he was about as clumsy there as he was in basketball. But from what I never met him, from what I understand, he was a really good guy. But Junkyard Dog and Paul Orndorff, legends right there, taking on Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and Sid Vicious. Junkyard Dog and Paul Orndorff will win this match by disqualification. It goes 8 minutes, 53 seconds. This match was really just a build-up for the main event, which we'll get into a little later. Now, this next match, Chris, is for the United States heavyweight title as the champion, Lex Luger, the total package, takes on a very young Undertaker, Mark Callis, with his manager, Paul E. Dangerously. This match goes 12 minutes, 10 seconds. And, Chris, I remember watching this match. You wouldn't have thought that either one of the Mark Callis was just a couple-year rookie at this point. But he looked really good in this match.
He looked great. I mean, Luger at this point was really on a roll, in 1990 coming, he was just the U.S. champion, defending the title. Mark Callis, big guy, demeaning, definitely a formidable opponent for Luger, and on any given night, whether it's a pay-per-view, house show, or whatever. But, no, I mean, Luger retains the title, but I mean, what was to be for Mark Callis? I mean, here's a guy, he was Mark Callis in the NWA, and Vince McMahon says, hey, you want to take a shot at WWF? And who was to know what would become?
Right. Yeah.
And change, the WWF, wrestling landscape moving forward, into the Attitude Era and into other things that the WWF was getting into with The Undertaker and being one of the longest tenured wrestlers and namesakes within a career. So, yeah. And there wasn't much further beyond this that he was in WWE just a couple of years later.
Yeah, and once he went to WWE, he really blew up at that point, and become the main top attraction for a long time until he retired. Now getting to our next match, NWA World Tag Team titles on the line. Champions Doom, Butch Reed, and Ron Simmons with their manager Theodore R. Long, taking on the world famous friends of ours, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. Chris, I remember going back and watching this match. This was a tremendous match.
Right. Well, I mean, Tony, talk about a somewhat style of clashes. You got Doom coming in there, jacked up, Ron Simmons and Doom coming in there with rock and roll. So they definitely had to be creative in this match. To mount offense with it, using their fast pace, their agility, and then really their ring savvy and experience a little bit as well, because to me, Doom was a powerhouse team, as far as from the tag team from what I remember back in the day. So Ricky and Robert definitely were using all the weapons in their tutelage that evening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it looked really, it was a great match. But Doom, at this time, I think WCW was pretty much going with bigger people. So Doom held on to the titles. They were getting them ready for the Steiners for sure. Now,
yeah, and I think even Teddy Long had a play in that match as well. I'm sure. on the outside throughout with Rock and Roll having no manager. I'm sure that played a factor towards the end of the match.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as we get to our main event, the setup with this, it's Sting with his Dudes with Attitudes, which was Elegante, Junkyard Dog, Lex Luger, Paul Orndorff, Rick and Scott Steiner, and they were taking on Ric Flair with Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson was handcuffed to Elegante, so the stakes were high, and they had the Horsemen in place to where they were not going to interfere with this match. This match goes 16 minutes, 6 seconds. Sting defeats and wins the NWA World Heavyweight Championship from Ric Flair for the first time right there at the Baltimore Arena in front of 14,000 people. Chris, I remember watching this match, and it was just back and forth. And then, of course, Sting became victorious and wins the World Championship. What are your thoughts on Sting finally winning the world title?
I mean, Tony, this was kind of somewhat of a turning point for NWA, WCW. This was elevating Sting on a different level at this point. You beat the Nature Boy. You beat the Nature Boy in not only on a pay-per-view, but also, interestingly enough, in a city as well. And I will use Baltimore as a transitional city for both the WWF and the NWA.
Yeah, and not only that,
Chris, both organizations ran that city consistently.
Yeah, but not only that, but Baltimore was a huge town, synonymous with Ric Flair's partying. Right. And I'm sure a lot of you may or may not know this story, but Ric Flair's told it several times. But during the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup Tag Team Tournament in 1987, they were in the same arena, and Flair had a room across the street at the Marriott, and he had a party, and he went on TV and said, all girls 18 to 28, no husbands, no boyfriends. The bartender told Ric Flair that he poured more alcohol in the bar that night than he did on New Year's, which is saying a lot. And of course, Ric Flair had to. He told a story how he had to get a little help from the office to check out because his bar tab was so high. But
I'm sure the Crockett's were more than happy to pay with that national television exposure.
Yes, for sure. But Sting finally gets the win, and right now I've got an interview with Sting right after winning the world title from Ric Flair here at the Great American Bash.
Celebration has just ended, and the new world's heavyweight champion has been crowned here tonight. Sting using an inside cradle to reverse the figure four. I've seen you wrestle almost your very first match. I'm almost as proud of you, I think, as your own parents are.
You and I go back a long time, definitely, Rossi, but you say the celebration is over. It's just beginning for the Stinger. It's been a long, hard road, especially against somebody like Ric Flair, the rest of the Horsemen. Rick did not become world heavyweight champion 6 times with the help of the Horsemen every time. So I knew I had to be in the best shape. Like I said, if I'd have lost, I wouldn't have had any excuses. Had everything set the way I wanted it to be, so no one would get ripped off. Clear-cut winner, one way or the other, and that's exactly what happened.
You know, the people in the media and the wrestling fans are very concerned about your knee being 100%. You said all along several weeks ago you were going to be ready, and I thought it was very admirable before you went on tonight. You said if you didn't win the championship, there'll be no excuses. How much of the mail from those little stingers have to play in your rehabilitation?
The little stingers, you keep talking about those little stingers. That's all I can do is think about them, you know, the little painted faces. You should have seen them all over the arena tonight. It was unreal. Painted faces, the haircuts. Come on, Sting, we know you can do it this time. Did you get my letter? Did you get my letter? Everybody, you know it did help me out a lot.
Thank you very much for your time. I know you got a big celebration. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. There you hear it from the new heavyweight champion of the world.
There it was, Chris. Sting, new world heavyweight champion. this right here would really kick off, series of matches, championships exchanged. Flair and Sting would kind of be connected for the rest of both of their wrestling careers.
Absolutely. This really was the start of something really, really big. Because, for Ric Flair, he had beaten all the best. Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff. We know the feuds with Steamboat. The list goes on and on, Tony. It'll be a mile long. But this was the young blood coming in. And this was someone from a skill set, and the fans just grasped onto him. This was the man for Flair. And it was great for Sting's career. And so many great things, and he's still wrestling today. Hey, but I love something that Sting said in that interview, Tony. He goes, the fans wrote me this. Today they just send an email, right? A text message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe something on social media, on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok.
Right. He didn't say that.
But hey, back in the day, Tony, the fans put pen to paper and wrote letters to these guys.
That's right.
And they licked the envelope and they licked the stamp and they slapped it on there with the return address, and the guys got them back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ricky and Robert would say the same thing, and you talk to all of them. But now today things are just instantaneously. That's great to hear that kind of stuff, like running out to get that magazine every month, see what's going on.
Exactly. That's that
was I picked up on that when he said that. That's awesome stuff.
Dude, I'll never forget as a young kid, young teenager, we had this little store in Thomasville where I used to live. It was called the News Center. They sold the magazines and they sold newspapers, and they were like one of the first stores there in my hometown to rent VHS movies. And I remember, dude, going there every Friday. I had my dad bring me there. Actually, this was like in 1985, but I remember having my dad bring me there every Thursday, every Friday. Sometimes he'd take me there every day, and we kept trying to rent Starrcade 85, and it was always out. And so finally, my dad says something to the gentleman. It's like, hey, if I give you my phone number, when this Starrcade tape comes in, would you give us a call? Because my son's really been wanting to see this.
I'll be down in 10 minutes.
and the guy's like, oh, I'll just I can just put you guys down, to reserve it. And dude, when I got that videotape, I took it home. I watched it like 10 times. I'd watch it, rewind it, watch it again, because I really wanted to see Starrcade 85. But I remember going to that news center, and like you talk about, getting the magazines and reading. And those magazines were like my first time seeing guys like a lot like Jerry Lawler and guys like that, because we didn't get at that time cable really wasn't out that much yet, so we didn't get to see Mid-South or any of that other stuff, so that was kind of neat. But like you said, those old magazines was the way that we learned about things. It wasn't like it is now. We go online, we punch it in, and boom, there it is. We had to get those magazines, and we had to read them. And I remember the guy telling me, who joked with me, he was like, hey, why don't you just clock in, because you're here more than I am. Because I'd have my dad take me there and drop me off, and I was sitting there reading wrestling magazines for hours. Little did I know I was stealing, but a lot of people did that. A lot of people done that, and I wish to God right now, to this day, that I had all the wrestling magazines that I had when I was a kid, because I know they'd be worth a lot of money now. But
you know what, Tony?
But those old magazines were great.
I did that same kind of stuff too. I would run down to a bookstore or a news magazine place, and I would sit there, look at the magazines. Which one am I going to buy? Hey, but you know what? and there's a lot of crazy things happening in the world today. And but you know, that kind of stuff we're talking, we're way pre-internet, we're way pre-social media. Sometimes it kept you out of trouble, staying in those stores for a couple hours and reading some magazines and doing something different. And then, you know, now today, everything is instant. I need to know it now, you know, and, you know, now back then that was all creative and building your mind and, you know, what was real, what was myth, what was kind of in the middle. It really didn't matter, but those were good times. And, running down to that corner store sometimes is a good thing. Yeah,
for sure. I know I always enjoyed it when I was a kid, and I always will. I mean, that's some great memories that I always hold on to. We definitely had good times going to those little stores. Well, Chris, I think that's going to wrap us up this week. As we talked about the Great American Bash 1990, Sting and Ric Flair hooking it up, Sting winning the world title for the very first time, and I think as the weeks go on, we're going to talk more about Flair and Sting, because as we said earlier, those guys were pretty much inseparable from 1987 all the way till you know, the close of WCW. And of course, I think Flair and Sting may have done a little bit of stuff together in TNA. So you just never know. But looking back, you know, Flair always talked about he had great matches with Steamboat and Dusty and Ricky Morton. But and of course, he says he has great matches with Sting too. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see more matches with Flair and Sting, and we'll definitely be doing that over the next few weeks. Chris, you have anything before we go off the air?
Man, Tony, I think we covered it all tonight. It's been a great show. Looking forward to next week and some more hints to Ric Flair's retirement match as well. I'm sure you'll have some more info another week from now. And hey, I'm excited. Summer's almost here, and it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, a rock and roll fan, and a lot to look forward to.
That is for sure. Well, fans, make sure you go like us on our Facebook page. Follow us on there as, like I said, when we get to the Motley Crue show, Chris and I will probably do a Facebook Live there for a little bit. So that'll be exciting for you fans to see. But like I said, over the next few weeks, we're going to be focusing on this Ric Flair final match. I'm excited about that, and I can't wait to let everybody know who his opponent's going to be. This week I've already dropped one hint, and then I also let everyone know that Tommy Young is going to be the special referee for that match. And I'm sure there's going to be more legends coming out for this great event. Tickets are on. Well, actually, no, tickets are no longer on sale. It's sold out. So now, if you want to see this match, only way you're gonna be able to see it is if you buy the pay-per-view. But anyway, make sure you check us out on our Facebook page. And for Chris, I am Tony. We will see you next week here on the Binge Buster Show.
Thank you for listening to the Binge Buster Show. Make sure you like us on Facebook and download us on your favorite podcast platform.